Hello, everyone. Welcome to our sessions, 6 Reasons to Automate Your Post-Closing Processes. Appreciate everyone's time today. I'm Matt Kilborn, Product Manager with Iron Mountain, and I'm truly excited to reveal how some of the leading mortgage originators are overcoming some of today's market challenges. According to the Mortgage Bankers Association, lenders lost an average of $1,972 on each and every loan they originated. That's based on the first quarter of 23, and that's actually, believe it or not, an improvement over the $2,812 they lost in the last quarter of 22. Just for comparison's sake, in the third quarter of 2020, independent mortgage bankers were gaining. They were making $1,924 per loan. So for financial service executives, that's a drastic change in profitability, and that can be shocking for them. But for anyone who has been following the industry news, the numbers probably aren't all that surprising. During the pandemic, we saw an average rate of the 30-year fixed rate mortgage dip as low as 2.58%. What happened? We saw people rushing out to buy homes, to refinance their current mortgages. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, if you will, they reported that loan originations climbed 65% in 2020 and to a total of 13.6 million. And in 21, it didn't slow down at all. Went up another 2.4% to 13.7 million. In order to tamp down inflation, the Federal Reserve started coming to the dance, if you will. They began rising interest rates in March of 22. By the end of the year, mortgage rates on a 30-year fixed rate loan had climbed well above 6%, then even topped 7%. I was listening to a couple of industry experts talk the other day, and they're concerned about 8%. So as a result, we saw origination. They fell sharply. In the fourth quarter of 2020, the average institution produced 2,947 loans. But in the first quarter of 23, the average firm, given the same profile, originated just 1,395 loans. So fewer loans, that means fewer economies of scale. It dries up the average cost. When times were good, mortgage originators increased their staffing to handle the influx of paperwork. But as volumes declined, many financial service firms found that they had more employees than they needed. Banks and other mortgage lenders, they laid off thousands and thousands of workers, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to keep up with the declining volumes. Making matters worse, for mortgage companies, personnel costs also rose during the pandemic years. Unemployment continues to remain low, forcing employers to increase salaries to attract new talent and retain the talent that they currently have on board. And at the same time, the regulatory compliance demands are increasing. Firms face an increasingly complex legal landscape as well as investor guidelines, and this increases the overall expenses. And the cost of failing to comply, or even worse, failing to protect consumer financial data, that cost is extraordinarily high. In related note, kind of similar tone, if you will, some firms are seeing increasing costs related to the loss of public trust. Recent failures of a sizable financial institution had lowered consumer confidence in the industry as a whole. We see that ripple effect. A Forrester analyst actually said trust in financial service brand is surprisingly weak. And we've been seeing very, very few brands with strong levels of consumer trust. In fact, survey participants in the Forrester survey, they said only 2% of US financial service brands were strong, while 57% of those brands were considered weak. So the public doesn't see us as a well-tied entity in how we manage our data. Given the state of current affairs, mortgage originators must do something differently. It's not an option. And if they want to survive, they have to change. So, what are the 6 benefits for mortgage originators? While most firms digitize some of the post closing processes, much of the work remains manual and paper based. Employees must review trailing docs to make sure that they have the appropriate signatures and that make sure that they've been properly both completed as well as executed and notarized. Auditors immediately step in and they double check to make sure that the loan complies with most recent regulatory requirements as well as the investor guidelines. And they actually go ahead and they recalculate all of the numbers to make sure that the mortgage was within the underwriting guidelines. All of that tends to be a very manual process. These auditors then pass on the documents to the appropriate party. So what does that mean? We're filing paper away. If it's a digital document, we have that need as well to store that data in a secure, compliant fashion. In the past, digital systems could handle only a portion of these tasks, which is why it's still so manual today. But the latest artificial intelligence, AI, if you will, as well as machine learning, the ML component of that, it makes it possible to automate a much higher percentage of the tasks. So this limits the level of human intervention and, so that they're managing solely the exceptions and not necessarily the flow. So what are the key 6 benefits I want to focus on during this time together? I want to focus on containing the cost. I want to focus on increase operational efficiency, attain scalability, enable new revenue streams, achieve regulatory compliance, and unlock valuable knowledge that you never even understood existed. So let's start with contained cost. One of the biggest advantages of digital automation for the post-closing process is that it helps to improve the average cost per loan. Post-closing automation can help you manage expenses in 3 ways. First, maintain a steady headcount. With automation, we no longer need to ramp up hiring when mortgage volumes increase and lay off people when the volumes decrease. That not only improves morale within your office, but it also reduces the costs associated with recruiting, hiring, training, and unfortunately, severance. The employees that you have will be able to handle more loan originations than they would if the processes were still saddled with manual functions, if you will. And they need to give their attendance only towards the exceptions to the process, which is much more interesting and engaging part of the job. Reducing the mundane associated with the post-closing processes can further improve morale, retention, driving down cost if you choose to proceed with an automated solution and challenge each and every process as to, is there a better solution? The second aspect I like to cover in containing costs is reduce floor space. In the post-pandemic world, hybrid work has become the norm. Many organizations are looking for ways to reduce their overhead by reducing their building space. That can be difficult if you're still storing a lot of documents in the old-fashioned storage cabinets that we have all grown to know and not so much love. Paper documents can take up to 40 times as much space as the same content if it were captured digitally. By automating your post-closing processes, including digital storage of the documents, you can dramatically reduce the real estate cost and reallocate existing space to more productive use. And the third aspect I'd like to focus on, or at least mention here, as far as containing the cost, is converting from a CapEx expense to an OpEx expense. If you choose to partner with a managed service provider to do your post-closing automation, you also have the advantage of transforming some capital expenses into operating expenditures rather than paying for infrastructure costs up front and depreciating over time. You've suddenly positioned yourself that you have predictable monthly expenditures that align with the revenue line. So what's the next key benefit? And what that is it really is a game changer, and that's operational efficiency. Manual post-closing processes aren't just expensive, they're slow. Automating these processes can dramatically decrease the amount of time it takes for a loan to be fully approved and ready for sale into the secondary market. In addition, digitized processes also lead to efficiencies throughout your organization. Automation technology can transform unstructured data into structured data with meaningful metadata tags that can be easier to find information. That reduces the amount of time workers waste looking for information. It also results in having easy access to all of the information you need to sell your loan into the secondary market. So it really enhances that liquidity and shortens that time window. So with automation, you can sell these loans you originate more quickly, and that's critically important to your secondary department as well as the overall financial viability of your firm. It decreases the carrying costs and enables some more aggressive pricing options in the marketplace. In many ways, your loan process is like a factory. The faster you can get the raw materials, think of that as loan documents, if you will, through the approval stage, the faster you can get your goods into the marketplace. In an increasingly competitive marketplace, that gives you an advantage against your rivals when you're battling for each and every loan. In addition, quality automation can reduce your defect rate. According to Freddie, the two most frequent contributors to loan quality defects are missing documents and miscalculation of income. Human error certainly contributes to both of these issues. The average error rate for a manual data entry process today tends to fall between 1 and 5%. And based on the error rate as it introduces automation and technology, that error rate falls to 0.1%. So you can see the dramatic change, so that not only are we decreasing costs, but we're also increasing the accuracy as well. And when you use a managed service provider to deploy automation, you have added the benefit of having an independent reviewer doing your document audits. And what that does is that further increases the likelihood of finding any defects, and it makes your operations even more efficient by having that trusted, independent, authoritative party. What would truly impact is scalability. We started this session, and again, I'm going to once again thank you all for investing the time talking about the dramatic swings of our roller coaster industry. And what we see is that the mortgage market is extraordinarily volatile, and it's largely influenced by factors outside of your organizational control. You have interest rates, you have a stock market trend, you have inflation, you have consumer confidence, you have unemployment, regulation, investor guidelines, and a host of other factors to determine whether people are buying new homes or refinancing their homes. All of these components, unfortunately, you have little control over. You have little impact, but you certainly do have to adapt to those changes, which creates an extraordinarily dramatic swings in our industry. In the past, manual paper-based processes meant that mortgage originations had no choice but to add more people when volumes increased, and then unfortunately once again lay them off when the volumes decreased. That process of adding and removing headcount takes time and is extremely disruptive to any organization. Digitized processes are a little bit different. They're much more scalable. Adding more computing resources is very simple. In fact, automatic provisioning of cloud-based resources means that staff doesn't have to do anything to turn on or off additional capacity. So that bandwidth suddenly is expanded. You're no longer restricted by the manual intervention and a number of teammates that you have on the floor. So it makes your cost more predictable, makes it scalable, if you will. You'll know exactly how much your expenses will increase as you originate more loans. And again, of course, automation never completely replaces people. We're not there today and we won't be there tomorrow. You still need humans in a loop for handling the exceptions, and that means that you won't be able to completely eliminate the need to hire more workers as volumes increase. But if your partner with a managed services provider handles the entire automated process, the vendor can bear the risk and the hassle of scaling personnel up and down as market conditions swing dramatically, so that your role is overall governance of that without necessarily investing in those dramatic staffing swings. The sixth benefit I'd like to touch on today is enabling revenue streams. Often we talk as far as automation from a cost management perspective, but we miss the revenue opportunity. So when loan originators are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on every mortgage, cutting costs is necessary, but that's not the only piece, and that's not enough. Financial service industry, and certainly the mortgage, it needs to be more efficient. The processes need to be more streamlined. We need to find new ways to make more money. By automating your post-closing processes, that's certainly one example. You can free up your staff rather than spending your time simply processing mortgage documents. You can innovate new ways to generate revenue. This might mean finding new markets out there. There might be underserved market opportunities that you don't necessarily have that commitment and the resources to research today. It might mean finding new ways to address your current customer needs. It might mean doing a better job of marketing your products. How do you inspire trust? You inspire trust through efficiency and accuracy. It might mean reconfiguring your mortgage products to become more attractive to borrowers or to the secondary market, increasing the profitability on each given loan. Or it might mean developing entirely new products. It could be entering new markets, maybe new regions, new licensing where you don't currently participate. It gives you the ability to expand beyond your physical constraints that you have today. To do any of these activities well, you're going to need to analyze your historical data to find hidden opportunities. Intelligent document processing powered by ML, it simplifies that level of analysis by accurately converting that unstructured data into structured data and adding intelligent metadata that adds context. So no longer is your data an island. You're introducing other data that adds context, and suddenly you see conclusions drawn out of those data that you no longer were able to identify. It makes it possible for your analyst to find and capitalize on the information that otherwise would remain hidden. So the next benefit I want to touch on here is how to manage your regulatory compliance. Critically important. It's not an option, it's a mandate. You best deliver, otherwise you won't be in business tomorrow. So for mortgage companies, the cost of failing to comply has been phenomenal. Just as a couple examples, for the SEC, they fined a firm $35 million for failing to properly dispose of sensitive data. If you look at overall, you see that the SEC fined $1.1 billion across 16 financial institutions for not maintaining and preserving important electronic communications. So imagine, take a step back. I just gave you two numbers of 35 million and 1.1 billion. What does that mean to your organization? If you receive that fine, what does that mean to your organization? And the SEC, they're not playing. SEC deputies, quote, he said the time is now to bolster your record retention processes and to fix issues that could result in similar future misconduct by your firm personnel. Nobody's saying there's going to be any second chances, because they're not. So automating your post-closing processes to help the originators ensure not only that they're saving money, but that they're saving the data they need within the downstream components is critically important. If you partner with the right managed service provider to perform that IDP, if you will, intelligent document processing, and you look to them to partner with your workflow automation, as well as look for them to manage that data destruction, you can certainly bolster your compliance efforts and sleep more comfortably at night. You can meet your compliance requirements. Not only does it help as far as eliminating and avoiding fines, it also improves your business operations. It has that sense of confidence. It drives the process because now you have data. So tagging and securely storing your loan level data, it makes it possible and easier to sell your loans on a quicker basis, quicker turn time, greater liquidity, and that directly impacts your financial viability. It makes your organization look more attractive from the outside so that your overall risk profile is enhanced to the marketplace, allowing investors to say, that's the firm I want to do business with. The sixth benefit here, which unlock valuable data. Within the industry, it's not always what you know. A lot of times it's what you don't know. What's within those documents that you're not necessarily exploring and leveraging today? If you're just scanning and storing your post-closing documents, you're missing out on a valuable business opportunity. Automation solutions, such as Iron Mountain's Insight, they can extract and classify the data from scanned documents into structured content. Adding that structured to unstructured content has a host of benefits. First, it makes the data easier to find. If someone on your team has a particular question or a need for a mortgage, they can search for the answer without needing to know what document contains that answer and then finding that associated document. Second, the classification and extraction enables dashboards that can help you track your loan pipeline. You can only imagine what data does to enhance your business. You could track your pending and completed loan pipes, get filtered and view your loans by loan types, as well as other criteria. Where your loans originate from, what's working, what's not. You look at declared loan, look at the exceptions. For the exceptions, what's the root cause? Are there trends within loan types? Are there trends within closing agents? Are there trends within the investor buybacks? All of this data suddenly is on your dashboard. It allows you to effectively manage your business. So, in addition to tracking the current situation, it allows you to identify those trends. And those trends allow you to set your strategy for the growth of your business. So that's the power of that data. And that's how it can be unlocked and leveraged for yourself, really, to grow your business. We actually bring together a combination of expertly trained staffing. We have pools of staffing that are focused solely on a mortgage business, each whether it's post-closing, whether it's secondary, whether it's on the origination side, focus on upfront origination. We have that dedicated level of staffing in place. But we've actually looked for those staffing to manage the process and to accelerate the technology of the digitized data. And we actually have spent a great deal of effort moving forward as far as building out those IDP models so that when we receive the mortgage content, we have such a depth of experience in that, we can leverage those models to automatically split, classify, and extract with the human intervention only to actually work those exceptions, not the rule. So that with the exceptions, we've actually have now bridged from that unstructured data, think of that as paper, to structured data. So now we have data so that then we have put in place customized workflows to move forward. And those are all designed based on industry understandings from both a loan level perspective as well as from a document level. We have those business rules in place to review that content and automatically identify those exceptions at the document level, as well as how those may cascade up to the loan level. And once again, though, I was quick to use that term in an automated fashion, and that is indeed the case. That's the first pass. But let me go back to that trained staff once again. So with that trained staff, that's in place to make sure within that first line of defense that first of all, you have an inline QA, that everything is exactly as it should be. And they're also well positioned to manage the exceptions in the process so that we have those defined workflows. We have the ability to deliver, identify exceptions to your loan content. We also have an interactive platform in which you can actually open your virtual front door, if you will, to your loans. You see that dashboard. You see those exceptions. You may see that this document is missing. You can deliver that document through our physical front door, in which we'll digitize that data. We'll actually address that exception, and you'll see that exception cleared through that collaborative exception platform. And so that you have the ability to track at any given time where not only a single loan is, but where's your whole loan? If you're looking to have a pool associated with that or a larger trade, we have all of those technology tools in place to track and manage your business. If you have unique needs, we could write those business rules for you as well. Because again, it's all about partnership. As for how the mortgage post-closing solution looks in reality, Iron Mountain had the opportunity to collaborate with one of the largest credit unions within the United States today. The client found themselves somewhat stymied by the existing technology and the ability to incorporate change into their environment. There were some very aggressive and ambitious goals set around growth and digitization, but the legacy systems really were unable to support that pace of change. And what happened next is that they engaged and collaborated directly with Iron Mountain to take the post-closing processes that right now took too long and left too long for those files to get to the investor. And they designed a workflow and leveraged the tools of document ingestion, IDP, business rules, data management, as well as collaborating those components with physical file retention. And Iron Mountain deployed an automated solution that leveraged that power of artificial intelligence and machine learning to identify, classify, extract, and validate the loan level data against the data within their loan origination system. So immediately they were able to identify those exceptions so that they can begin those curative actions. The team secured its valuable data assets, and they would put in place the people and processes necessary to streamline those post-closing processes. And the net benefits that the client was able to achieve was, from an efficiency perspective, they saw a gain of 25% before and after snapshot. They saw significant cost savings as it related to a per file scenario. They were also able to evaluate the cycle times as far as how long it takes from the point of funding that transaction to the point of delivering that to the investor, able to reduce that cycle time. And what that enabled is it actually improved the loan saleability. It reduced the number of investor exceptions and really helped close that door to the exposure to investor buybacks. And all of that was delivered, and those goals were attained while they were also growing 30% year over year process. But again, that's just one of many examples in which we have been fortunate to collaborate directly with our client to understand what their goals are and understand how we can deliver those goals based on industry-leading technology, enabling those into solutions, and then wrapping those technology solutions with well-trained industry experts. So Iron Mountain partners with AWS to offer a variety of digital solutions like those that we covered today within a mortgage post-close solution. And each of those is really designed to help accelerate your journey from physical to digital to cloud to petabyte scale. Again, so our approach is we collaborate to help you securely access and store your information. We find what you need. We find it when you need it. We automate your workflows for improved collaboration and unlock the insights with our secure content services platform. If you have further questions, if you have comments, please reach out to us. Thank you for your time, and I wish you the very best.